Well, welcome to the Christy Jones Show, where it's all about living your life to the fullest. I'm a life coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate, and I've had wild success in multifamily housing for over 25 years now. I am so passionate about helping others merge their success and lead a fulfilling life. And I bring it all together right here on this podcast. So join me and let's get started to live your life to the fullest. Hey, my friend, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here because I've got a really fun message for you today. And it's a feel-good message, but it's also a fire you up kind of message as well. We're wrapping up July, and as we come to the end of summer, like we can see the horizon of summer creeping up, in my opinion, way too fast. But as we're wrapping up this time of year, I want to challenge you to not pack away the joy and that carefree spirit that maybe you've had a little bit more of this summer season. Because the truth is that joy and having fun is not seasonal. If you've been soaking up more sunshine, having an extra iced coffee, taking some extra walks, maybe having a couple slow mornings where you're stepping out of that hustle mode, you know, you don't have to leave that behind. So I'm going to share with you today just some simple things, just some very simple soul-sparking things that you could do to bring that summer vibe, to bring that playful spirit, to bring that joy along with you for the ride for the rest of the year. So let's make joy on repeat, not something that's just seasonal, not something that's just reserved for when we go on vacation. All right, so let's dive in. I decided to want to talk about this today because it kind of builds upon the other podcasts that I've been doing in July. So if you want to kind of get the full effect of it, be sure you listen to all the episodes that I dropped in July. I've also dropped something at the beginning of summer called the Flourishing Summer Strategy, and that is my free guide on how you can create that summer season. And I did summer season because it's a time generally when people change up their routines, they do more exploring, they venture out of their comfort zones a bit more. And the Flourishing Summer Strategy really, I created that so you have a roadmap, is the best way to say it, a roadmap for how to build your summer with intention. And really, it's so you don't show up at, like, say, mid-September and you're just still head down in projects. You're like knee deep in emails. You're still buried with all your work commitments and the things that you're growing and building. And while that is very important, it will not help in that fulfillment area of your life if you're always just focused on success. So the Flourishing Summer Strategy, it's never too late to incorporate that. So I'll have a link in the show notes to you can just get the free download. And it's like 4 to 5 very easy steps for you to go through to help craft and move through the coming months, coming weeks with intention. Because it's all about having that success and fulfillment because it doesn't have to be one or the other. So I strongly believe, and that's part of my coaching practice, is that we can co-create those together. So go download that Flourishing Summer Strategy, get your hands on it, take a glance at it, and there's plenty of time for you to still incorporate those things so that you can finish the summer strong. But today I want to talk about really joy on repeat and what summer can teach you about living fully year round. And that's what I'm going to dive into today. I want to talk about a lot of times that high performers, people that are, getting things done, have the to-do list, uber focused on, if you're just a person that's uber focused on achievement, you can oftentimes get caught up in just that hustle mode I talk about, that constant chasing of perceived success, really thriving too much in the area of achievement, because it's really about the entire process. And so and I've been kind of sharing the same message all month long. It's really about tuning in and moving with intention, lifting your head from the computer, from the keyboard, from the screen, and turning away and asking yourself some important questions so you don't, like I said earlier, show up, let's say in September, going, where did the time go? Where I wanted to spend time with these people. I wanted to experience these things, and I just didn't do it. And I'm still feel behind. That's what I hear so much. That's why this month I've really focused on you tuning in to both success and fulfillment and how you can like bring those together in your world. So when we talk about today, I'm going to just talk about this aspect of, that carefree spirit we have in the summer. There's more joy sometimes, there's more playfulness, there's more adventure, and that doesn't have to end right now. It doesn't have to come to an end. We're a little bit more spontaneous. I find that in the summer season, especially in the spring to summer, there's more spontaneity. There's more curiosity. And I really, urge you to lean into the spontaneity, the curiosity all year round and find ways to spark your joy. And it's not just meant for, so many months out of the year. So let's talk about that today. I want to talk about, sometimes different seasons do feel different. Summer has a way that it might feel for you. It might feel lighter. It might have more joy. It might feel, like I said, more adventurous, more spontaneity. And you can carry bits and pieces of that with you into the next season. Fall has its way that it feels, and winter has its way that it feels. And a lot of times, though, we abandon the things that we love about ourselves and about how we show up in the world in that summer season, and then we abandon it the rest of the year. And quite frankly, it's why a lot of people, especially high performers, high achievers, they're so uber focused on certain aspects of their life that they're missing the point of how joy can actually make them much more effective at whatever their craft is, the thing you love to do. And having this and incorporating joy and spontaneity and that adventure, just the adventuresome and the ability to just relax and reset. Maybe, take the trip, take the day trip, take the longer trip. Those things all make you better at what you do. They make you a better human. They make you better at showing up as the best version of you. All right, so what are some ways that, and I was having this conversation with someone, and she was like, well, what are some of the ways that I can keep this, you call it joy on repeat? How can I do that? So I've got a couple things if you want to jot these down, but I'm going to read them off to you of the things that I had shared with her. Because I just want to list off some real life, simple moments that feel like a spark. You know what I'm saying? You need that spark. Sometimes when things feel mundane, when you're not feeling the joy, you're not feeling that lightheartedness that maybe we have during the summer season. It's later in the year and you're not feeling it right now. I'm going to give you just some really simple moments that's going to help spark that for you. And so what I'm sharing with you today, not only is for you to evaluate yourself right now, but it's how can I take this spark of joy and how can I incorporate this into my life for the rest of the year? Because we're basically halfway through the year. And it's always a good time to reevaluate and reset. There's never like, oh, I have to wait till a certain time to do that. Heck no. You can do that every single moment throughout the day. So you might wake up tomorrow and be like, today's the day I'm going to reset. I'm going to refresh. Just because we've done something a certain way for a long time doesn't mean that we have to continue doing that. So that's why we want to, like, we learn better, then we go, oh, I can do that in a different way. I can do that in a way that's going to make me feel better, that's going to like have such a bigger positive effect on my life than the way I was doing it. All right, so here's just some real life examples for you. Okay, so think about this. If you were to incorporate some of these things into your routine, and not just in the summer, but I'm talking about through the rest of the year, think about how you might feel, how you would wake up knowing that that's going to be part of your day. So a weekly unplugged at night, like weekly unplugged, maybe with music, maybe, but I'm saying unplugged from the digital world. Like no TV, just chilling, listening to music, maybe with a cocktail, maybe with a mocktail if that's your thing, like whatever. And just, I'm going to be having either a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. I'm not a New Zealand girl. I love my California Sauv Blancs. And or, if I'm just like really wanting to chill, my favorite drink is the dirty martini. I love it. I don't know if it's like I like the olives because I like your girl likes a snack. All right. Like I like to have a snack. So that's probably why it's my favorite. But maybe it's making a drink, having a cocktail, make a smoothie, make whatever. But just chill, turn on some music, hang out, and enjoy the view. I do that more in the summertime than I do in the wintertime, but I like to just chill. It's like I don't want the TV on. I don't want like constant entertainment. I just might want some, I might just like create a playlist and make a new playlist. Or I might listen to one of my old favorites. But there's just something about music that makes you feel joyful. And it's just so good for the soul. So have an unplugged from TV kind of night. The other thing that is a really simple thing to do and to kind of keep that joy on repeat is saying yes to the things that sound fun to you. And then if it does not like pulling at you, don't do it. But if you have things that you enjoy, then do it. Even if it doesn't make sense. Like someone might look at it and go, that's so lame. Like, I can't believe you like doing that. But if it brings you joy, do it. Why are you holding back? So create some time in your week for that thing that you want to say yes to that you're like, yeah, that sounds fun. Or maybe like it's something you already do and you're like, I want to do this every single week. I have a friend that loves to bowl. And then at a certain time of year, like she goes bowling and is in a group, but then that group kind of dissipates at a different time of the year and then they don't meet up. It's not a league, it's just a group of friends that she does that with. And I'm like, well, but if you enjoy it and it gives you so much joy, just go by yourself for those months. I mean, say yes to the things that light you up, regardless of who else wants to do it with you. Another little very simple thing is take a walk. Take a walk in a new neighborhood that you like, I don't normally walk in this neighborhood, but maybe you have to drive over to a different neighborhood and go take a walk. Look, and historical neighborhoods are so fun to do this in. And pay attention to the architecture of the homes and the way that the streets, the way they curve. Maybe there's hills in the neighborhood. I mean, get out of your usual environment. But if you enjoy taking walks, and I realize that there's some places like once we get in certain times of the year, like I am not this girl, like your girl is not walking in freezing cold. I'm just not. Like I'm not. It's just I'm not a cold weather girl. I'm not doing it. That does not bring me joy. What I know that freezing temps do not bring me joy. So your girl will not be walking in the freezing. But in all the other temps, like as long as it's mild, I'm going for a walk. That brings me so much joy and so much peace. So, and I love that, summer's great because we have longer daylight hours. And so that's makes it extra. You have more time in the day, it feels like, and you can be outside. But if walking brings you so much joy, find a way of how you can incorporate that for yourself for the rest of this year. Maybe in the summertime, what's brought you some joy is you get like 10 extra minutes in the morning of like you time. Maybe that's it. And it's like you can make your coffee just the way you want it. Maybe you do your iced coffee, but it's like 10 minutes of just chill. And it's just a more slow moving start to your day. How could you create that for yourself as you move through the rest of the year? Maybe you couldn't do it all 5 days of the week, but is there a way, or 7 days of the week, but could you do it 3 days of the week? Is there a way that you could create that 10 minutes of just joy time for yourself? Is there a way that you could create that? Maybe it's just you having your coffee, sitting, reading something that you enjoy. Is there a way that you can create that quiet time for yourself? Can you reclaim 10 minutes in your morning so you're just not rushing? Rushing out the door, getting to work, getting the kids where they need to be. And a lot of times there's less rushing in the summer if you have children because you're not having to get them to school. And maybe you're just having to get yourself to work, or maybe your work schedule adjusts over the summer. But regardless, a lot of times there's more flexibility in your schedule often in the summer. So is there a way you can take maybe those a couple slow moving mornings? Maybe it's a Sunday morning. Maybe it means on a Saturday you don't overcommit yourself and you stop saying yes to all the people and all the crap that you don't want to do anyways. I went through that phase of my life. You know, I've told on a previous podcast, I've told a story of um I was doing a lot of volunteer work and working full time. And but I was doing volunteer work. I was working full time. I was a mom. We had all three kids in the home at that point. I had stepdaughter, stepson, and my son was probably about 6 years old, so 6 to 8. I don't know why I decided I was going to run hard in this area of, doing things in the community and all of that, which is great. And it was wonderful. And I started it with, good intentions and I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back, a little side note, honestly. I wanted to give back because when I was a single mom and I started out on government assistance after my divorce, um, I depended on help from people, I mean, my parents, obviously, and they were fantastic, but, from people and organizations and things like that. So, when I saw that, I mean, as soon as I was able to like give back in a way, I was so eager to do that. What I didn't judge very well is that your girl didn't have a whole lot of time. I was losing my sanity in the process. So I was over scheduling myself, over committing myself. Ties into a little bit of people pleasing, you know what I'm saying? And trying to do it all, be it all, and why I was putting that intense pressure on myself. It was nuts. So I actually stepped away from that. And the day came, I was like, I'm not going to do this at this level anymore. And so, why I tell you that story is because sometimes we're like, oh, I have no extra time. I have no time for myself. I have no time to do the things that bring me joy. But often we're saying yes to things that we really want to say no to. And so, I want to encourage you that it's okay to say no. And it's good for you to feel comfortable saying no. I mean, I think there's a stigma that you feel bad when you have to say no, or I'm not able to do that at this time, but I will check back at a later time to see if that's something that aligns with my life better, or if I'm able to do that. I mean, no, just I think people they don't want to be sometimes, I know that was the case with me, you don't want someone to go, oh, she's, saying no because she doesn't care, or it's, she's not she's not a very giving person, or she's selfish, or what. Those are all like all those stories kind of go on in your head. Or at least that was at that time that was going on for me. And I mean, that's just ridiculous. Like, it's okay to say no. And you can't, you can't absolutely do every single thing that every person wants you to do. And so you have to know what's right for you. And saying no is perfectly fine. And it's actually very healthy. So, what do you need to say no to so you can create more space for joy for you to say yes to the things that you really want to say yes to? It doesn't make a lot of people sometimes think. I was in this group chat one time, and it was like, because everyone's saying yes, but resenting the fact that they're saying yes, it was like finally we just had a really honest conversation about it. And I was like, why should I feel bad if I don't want to do this right now? Because it doesn't align with my priorities. I mean, why do you want someone saying yes to something and then as soon as they turn away from it, or as soon as they say yes, then they're like resenting it and they're feeling awful, and now they're like, how do I get out of this? And I never wanted to do this in the first place. Well, if you don't want to do it in the first place, what we need to, and that's on us, that's on each individual. So you need to better coach yourself to say, no, no, that doesn't work for me right now. I'm sorry, I won't be able to do that at this time, but you can check back with me on another date. Maybe something might shift and I'll be able to do that. And it's also okay just to be like, no, I don't enjoy that. I don't want to do that. That's okay too. So I think when we learn to say no to the things that we really don't want to be doing anyways, or hanging out with the people that we don't want to hang out with anyways, then we say yes and create more space for joy in doing the things that light us up, in spending time with the people that we want to spend time with. So it's a win-win. So the better, when you get much more comfortable at that, then you're going to create time for that 10 minutes of that, to have a little slower morning, or that 10 minutes that you're wanting to capture at the end of your day. So you can just kind of like have a moment. So it's really about you looking at all the things that you're saying yes to that you don't really want to be doing, and feeling okay declining and saying no. We don't have to accept every social invite that we get. I mean, if you do, you're going to be like, you're just constantly on that hamster wheel. So there's times that it's best for you and your joy to say no, to be appreciative and respectful, but no is the answer. And then also, I want a little spark of joy is going to come from letting yourself feel proud and feel good about what is going right in your life. There is so much focus on what's going wrong in your life, what's going wrong in the world, what's going wrong at work, what's going wrong. I want you to kind of flip, flip the script in your mind. And instead of focusing on what's going wrong, focus on what's going right. Feel proud of what's going right in your life. That's going to, just that joy is going to well up inside of you. Feel good about that. Feel good about what's going right. Because you know what? We all have things that aren't going right. We all do. But if we sit and we focus on that, we just get more of that. So we get to choose our thoughts. If you need support in this area, in any of this that I'm talking about in this episode, really, and it just came to mind because I haven't talked about it in a while, but my membership, the Flourishing Edge Inner Circle, you get so much of this inside that monthly group coaching. So I will link show notes down below for that monthly group coaching as well. A side note, it's also one of the most affordable ways to work with me. My one-on-one is an entirely different container and very individual and structured exactly for that client. So it's at a much different price point. But if you are wanting to really tap into the things, a lot of the things that I share here on the podcast, the Flourishing Edge Inner Circle is exactly where you need to plug in. So I just wanted to give you, I could come up with so many more, so much more, but these are like mini moments of how to keep that joy on repeat in your life. Just evaluate yourself for, let's say, this summer and think about what are the things that I've been doing that have brought me so much joy and so much ease. What are those things? And then pinpoint that and then figure out how can I continue to inject these little things into my world for the rest of the year. It's worth spending the time looking at that and figuring out how you can make that happen. So I'm going to close with a few truths here. Joy isn't a reward. Know that. Joy is not a reward. It's a requirement if you really want to have success and fulfillment. Joy is part of that success and fulfillment. So it's so important that you can create these moments of joy and that it's not just like in a container for a certain time of year or just when you're on vacation or just when you go do this one thing a year with your girlfriends and you guys take this trip and that it's what these little micro moments that you create in your life. It's not just like the big things. It's the micro moments. It's those daily little injections of joy that you have in your life. And there is a way that you can have that throughout the year, not just in one container, just not in summer. You know, it's often the small things that create the biggest internal shifts for us. It's the small moments. Think about it. Think about the moments that have almost taken your breath away, that have brought you to tears, that when that moment happens, it's like your eyes are starting to water. You have just this huge amount of love that it just shows up. Like I hold my chest because when I feel that way, I just feel like my heart's going to explode. There's so much joy and so much happiness. It's often the small things. It's not always the big things. And those are wonderful too. But recognize and think about your own life and all the small moments that have really caused and resulted in the most shift in your life, the internal shift, which that's the shift that really matters. That's where the real difference happens. So I want to challenge you guys as I wrap up this podcast that I want you to think of one small thing that you can carry from this summer into your routine for the rest of the year. So I would love to give you that challenge. And if you would share that challenge, if you want to like post that on social or you do a post about it, tag me on it or just email me, DM me. I just want to know what yours is because we have to be able to take things that we're doing now that bring us joy and find ways to continue to incorporate it into our life throughout the year. So if you've discovered something new for yourself, let me know what that is. Share that. I'd love to know what it is for you. I would I would probably think that it's not just going to be one thing for you. I bet that you easily come up with 3 to 5 things that you have done over the summer that you can easily move forward and incorporate in your life in the weeks ahead until we finish out this year. And you can take them on into next year. But we sometimes lose momentum at the end of the summer and we just go back to the regular. And I don't want you to go back to the regular. I don't want you to give up on the fact that you can't have this much fun and joy and happiness and that momentum that you've built over the summer. I don't want you to leave that at the door once summer ends. I want you to take parts of that with you that continue to give you the joy throughout the year. So, anyways, a lot of what we talked about today is what I talk about inside my inner circle, like I mentioned earlier. So, if you're looking for a community to build a life to where you don't need a vacation from it, okay? You need to be dialed in and plugged into my inner circle. I am offering coaching in there every single week, and it's really ready to get you moving forward and build that momentum so you're building the life that you really want to have. So you can feel good and not totally worn out and exhausted and sometimes dreading the next day. So it's about success and fulfillment, and we celebrate those wins each and every week inside that membership. All right, my friend, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you are following along. And if you missed any of the other episodes for July, just go back and give those a listen because all of these episodes have been building upon each other. And one more time, I want to remind you, it's not too late. If you want to implement my Flourishing Summer Strategy, just scroll down to the show notes, click it, download it, go through those easy 4 or 5 steps, and you'll be moving forward with intention and clarity. Okay, my friend, thanks so much for hanging out. And as always, I so appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week. Well, my friend, thank you so much for tuning in today and listening to today's episode on Steady in the Storm. I'm breaking up this message into 2 parts. So today is part 1, and next week I'll be coming to you with the wrap up to this. And that's where I'm going to share with you the actual tips and tools of things you just want in your life toolkit so that you can move through these seasons of when you go through these storms and you're just better equipped and you take good care of yourself in the process. So I hope today's message really hits home for you. And number 1, bring some normalcy to the situation that these storms, they come and go, but how you move through that really has everything to do with the foundation that you are building right now. All right. Thank you so much for joining. I can't wait to see you next week and go make the rest of your day fabulous. I just want to thank you for tuning in today to the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and all the info that's been shared today. And I hope you've come away with a few ideas on how to make the most out of it for your life. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tap that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a podcast review. So until next time, my friend, keep flourishing and thriving and live your life to the fullest.